So welcome back. Now in the previous two lessons of this section, we have discussed the significance or the importance of a leader in an organization, and we have also discussed why systems thinking is so important for a leader. Now the question remains as to how should you as a leader practice systems thinking, or rather what is it that you have to do as a leader so that you become a systems thinker. Now if you take your mind back to whatever we have studied so far in the course, then you would have well understood what systems thinking is, and I'm sure you will be able to practice systems thinking. But notwithstanding that, there are four distinct and very important things or ways in which you can become a systems thinker. And we shall discuss all those four, important ways or methods in detail, one at a time. So the first thing that you have to do as a leader to become a systems thinker is to understand the organizational complexity. You see, every organization has four levels of organizational experience. First of all, today's modern organizations are very complex. They are not as simple as the traditional proprietary way of business. The modern corporate organizations are very complex. Why they are complex? Because there are four levels of organizational experience, and all these four levels are interconnected. Because they are interconnected, it makes it very complex. So if you are working for a corporate organization, you would be able to understand these four levels of organizational experience. The first level is the external world, represented by this blue box. All right, that is the outside environment, the external world, your competitors, your customers, the government policies, the law of the land, and so many other things. You have no control on them. They are the external world, but definitely they influence your working, they influence your experience. The second level, represented by this green box, is the organization's and the leader's own actions. What actions the organization and its leaders take. All right. For example, their strategies, their management practices, their organization policies, their procedures, their SOPs. All these things are the actions of the organization and the leaders of the organization. All right. The problem is that the first level of experience and the second level of experience, these may not always be in sync. Sometimes they may complement each other, sometimes they may conflict with each other, and sometimes perforce you have to align them with each other. For example, let us say that you have your organizational policies. Now your policies cannot be in conflict with the government policies. Whether you like it or not, you will have to align your policies with the government policies and the law of the land. All right. But on the other hand, your policies, your procedures, your management practices can be entirely different from your customers or your competitors' policies. They may or may not be in sync, it doesn't matter. But with the government policies and the law of the land, you can't be in conflict. Got the point? And the third level of experience is the organization and the leader's own problems, represented by this brown box. All right. What does it mean by own problems? It is, how they handle things at the ground level. First of all, the second level is the actions which the organization or the leaders take, their policies, their procedures, and all. The third level is how they face those things. They have to identify their problems, they have to define their problems, and then they have to find ways of solving their problems. All right. Again, the problem is that the second level of experience and the third level of experience may again conflict with each other at times. Let us understand with an example. For example, let us say the organization has laid down the policy that a particular type of training is required for a particular level of employees, and the duration of the training has to be such and such. All right, that policy has been laid down. But on ground, the problem is that the ground level executives are not able to implement that policy. First of all, they are not finding the right people to train, and then they don't have so much of time to train them, because if time is spent on training, then the productive time is reduced. They may not have enough resources, enough funds for training their employees. So the policies and the ground realities may differ. Similarly, you see some cultural issues. The management practices, or the procedures or policies or the government policies may want to do something. They may have laid down certain policies and procedures, but on ground, the cultural issues, the ethnic issues, those may not permit those policies to be implemented in letter and spirit. There may be a conflict. So therefore, you try to understand how complex it becomes at times. And the fourth level of organizational experience, that is the organizational consciousness, which is a sum total of all this experience, represented by this red dot over here. All right, so three different level of experiences which may either be in sync or may be in conflict, and the fourth level which is a sum total or the summary of all that, and you cannot ignore any of them. None of these experiences you can ignore, and none of them you can overemphasize. All right, so as a leader, you have to understand this complexity before you become a systems thinker. The second thing that you have to do as a leader is to foster an environment of continuous and balanced learning. Try and understand these two words, continuous and balanced. All right, now you see, learning is primarily of two types. One is the maintenance learning, and the second is the innovative learning. What is this? What is the difference between these? You see, the maintenance learning is acquiring knowledge to continue doing what is happening. Whatever is happening, you want to continue that happening, and for that you need to know the maintenance learning. For example, let us say that your company is manufacturing petrol and diesel driven cars, automobiles, all right, and you want to continue making those cars. So therefore you will have to keep learning how to keep making those fossil driven cars in a better and better manner. You'll have to keep learning, all right, to make the same things better and better. Then what is innovative learning? Innovative learning is acquiring knowledge to do something new which has not been done so far. All right, try and understand with another example. Let us say that you are manufacturing the same thing, all right, petrol and diesel driven cars, and now you want to make solar power driven automobiles, something new which has not been done so far. So you will have to learn about that, how to make solar power driven automobiles. That is innovative learning. Got the point? And you cannot ignore either of them. You have to give equal emphasis to the maintenance learning, to continue doing what you are doing. At the same time, you have to give focus to innovative learning, to do something new which has not been done so far. All right. And then this innovative learning can further be divided into two types. What are they? One is anticipative learning, and the second is participative learning. Let us try and understand what does it mean. See, in anticipative learning, you are trying to help your people to forecast the future needs, the future requirements, and then help them to acquire that knowledge to meet those challenges of the future. Let us try and understand with an example. You see, in earlier days, when we were using the horse driven carts on, the rough mud tracks, that time people visualized or anticipated the requirement of the future, that in future we may require automobiles. So they started working on automobiles, and they also realized that if we have automobiles, we may not be able to run automobiles on the tracks. So therefore we will require roads. You see, so they anticipated the requirement and then they started learning on that. And once they made automobiles, then they realized that for faster movement, we require probably railways. So they started learning about railway. And once the railways was developed, then they said, okay, now to improve it further, we require air travel for the sake of speed. So that is how anticipative learning, you keep on forecasting the requirement for future and you keep learning about it. All right. Now just think over what would be the next step after air travel. What would be the requirement for the future? Think over it and start learning for that requirement. Okay. Now we come to participative learning. What is this? In participative learning, what you are doing is you are helping people to participate and collaborate in a learning process. All right. In this, you see, sometimes, when you are doing research or when you are doing some invention, that can be done independently as a solo work. When you are doing research, it is your personal research. You are doing it alone, or some invention, you are making it alone. But when you are making things better, then generally it is a team work. It is a collaborative work. You are learning and then you are improving things. Try and understand the difference. In anticipative learning, you have forecast the requirement, what you want to do, and then you are learning for that. But in participative learning, you learn as a team something different. You don't know what you are going to make ultimately, but you are learning, you are improving your knowledge, and with that knowledge, you suddenly produce something which is of advantage to the society. As a group, as a team, you learn things and then you come up with something new, all right, which you had not anticipated, which you had not forecasted. Got the point? So, while anticipative learning is to make new things altogether, in anticipative learning, you are making something new or you are learning to make something new altogether. In participative learning, you are learning to make the current things better. All right. So we have discussed two ways so far in which you as a leader can adopt systems thinking. The first was to understand the organizational complexity, and the second was to foster an environment of continuous and balanced learning. In that, we saw maintenance learning and innovative learning. And under innovative learning, we saw anticipative learning and participative learning. All right. Now, in the next lesson, we shall discuss two more ways in which you as a leader can adopt systems thinking. All right.